taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast. For Saturday, April 18th, 2020, this is your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. New time today. Hopefully this works well for everybody. We're taking this for a test drive. And if you're listening live today, please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And please don't forget to slam that like button. It likes it rough, and it tells us in YouTube that you appreciate this content. We've got a lot of interesting things to talk about today. We've got some special guests with us who are going to have some very interesting things to say. We're going to be talking about the Xbox ARG that just happened. It's a Cyberpunk 2077 related ARG. But it was put on by Xbox and revealed something kind of interesting, I guess, if you're into that kind of a thing. But the reaction to the actual payoff of the ARG has been a little disappointing. Apparently, the puzzles were actually pretty good. And we are going to be talking to Rabbit and Shizan Sil from the Game Detectives, who were busy figuring this out over the past couple of days. It was about a 25-hour process. But welcome, guys. Rabbit, Shizan Sil. Welcome to the show today.
Oh, hello. Hi, everyone who's watching. I'm Shizan Sil.
And we got Rabbit as well. And we've had you guys on before. At least, Rabbit, I know we've had you on the show before, or at least we've had you on streams.
Like Clown last time.
Clown, yeah. I don't think we've had Shazan on before, but
No.
welcome. And so we'll be diving into that. I'm here as always with Obsidian, of course, as well. There will be a screen sharing element when we're talking about the ARG. We'll try to keep it not too technical, like we'll just have sort of some visuals on the screen for interest's sake. But the guys are going to talk about sort of the details of the ARG and what they did to actually crack it. But we'll try to keep it sort of high level and not like too crazy technical. Also, other news today: Jason Schreier has left Kotaku. And so that's kind of a big move. And then China's doing some China things. And then we're going to give our thoughts on Fallout 76 Wastelanders DLC. And also Minecraft with ray tracing is in beta. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody who's listening live. And if you're listening after the fact, we want to hear your thoughts as well. Leave comments down below. So we're going to start by talking about the ARG. So who's going first, guys?
Well, I suppose I should give a quick synopsis the
Synopsize?
Yeah, synopsize.
That's a word now. That's a word.
The ARG that was so you guys are in agreement. The ARG's system, as far as mechanically and as far as like challenge level, it was actually a really decent ARG.
Yeah.
The rewards were terrible. And it was also, the rewards were also leaked yet again by a Canadian retail company.
Those Canadians,
So
eh?
It was this time.
They're
It was
just-
Canadian, Canada, Amazon.
Yeah.
One
Amazon
thing-
Canada.
Yeah, one
leaked
thing
it.
we discussed, like on the server, like when we got the reward when we actually finished the ARG, is that it was actually like a pretty good ARG. The reward would be good if it was not leaked. Like it would be an actually pretty good reward, like to
Yeah.
be the first ones to actually see that, but it was leaked, so yeah.
And I speaking as an outsider, I disagree with that a bit. Like when I was busy with other stuff throughout the day while all this was going on, and then I reviewed it afterwards, and I was like, so they spent all this time figuring out these puzzles, which is really cool, but then the payoff was a YouTube video that was basically a commercial for a product you can buy. Seemed like a bad payoff to me. I don't know. I feel like if I had been involved, I would have been dissatisfied. I mean, clearly it was going to be something Xbox related because it was Xbox putting on this ARG. And as far as we know, CD Projekt Red had no direct involvement in this ARG, aside from obviously there was some.
That we don't know. I mean, it's certainly they got this ARG had all of the lore and window dressing of all the other ARG stages we've seen.
Right.
But I don't think they did the challenge design. I would wager.
Lalia confirmed actually on your server. She confirmed that they were not involved in that part.
Yeah, I think the max that TDPR could have been like in this ARG is just like actually sourcing the lore, just saying stuff for the Xbox thing, because it was not them.
Obviously, like the branding was being used, and you can see on the screen on if you're looking right now, if you're watching on YouTube or just on the thumbnail for today, the actual product that was revealed is a Cyberpunk 2077 themed Xbox. The design of it is I can't decide if I like it or not. It's pretty cool. I think the controller looks really cool with the no future thing scratched into it.
The controller definitely looks really good.
But yeah, I mean to have all that work for no payoff, like not even like hey, enter to win one of these, right, or something like that. No new gameplay, no new lore attached to it. I think if it had been the product announcement combined with something like that, would have been much better.
I mean, it's Microsoft, right? So throwing in, I don't know, a discount on the console or a T-shirt, I don't know, just anything that
something,
They don't care. They've got so much money, you know what I mean?
Well,
but hey, whatever.
I don't understand why. Like, I understand why they have a lot of the current gen left over, and they need to get rid of them. So I understand that part of it. I don't like that, and I kind of find it as a little greasy. However, there is some significant chances that we may end up seeing a delay in the latest consoles. So, I mean, if the consoles end up getting delayed, then this is actually kind of a smart move. Whereas if they're not, then I kind of see it as a bit of a greedy power move when they didn't really need to do it. And the better thing to do would have been to just ship like a $20 or $30 controller. Like that to me would have made sense. And if they and you could have maybe applied like some kind of a discount, like a 20% off,
or
discount.
Just not had an ARG and just released a video, and then nobody would be mad. It's the fact that they tied a multiple day ARG and then didn't give us anything.
I would be totally
like a 20-second like video of the game that we haven't seen before, or a new character, just take a pick out of anything. And again, I'm not going to criticize them too much, because this is a scenario where it's like, well, we want to see more of this kind of stuff, right? So we want to actively encourage companies to do this. We just need to make sure that they understand that it's like those old like that old duo, let the punishment fit the crime. So it's like, that's the only thing. Sorry, you were saying?
I was saying that like what you said, the ARG to actually announce a console, that was not great. They actually did something that I think it would be a bit better for the community in general. Like, people wouldn't be so mad about it. If you go to the English website of the Xbox, it has like I don't know if it's a GIF or something that shows up on the screen. It actually like blacks out the screen, glitches out, and it shows like a teaser, like come back in 4 days, probably 2 days today. And it actually teases something. But they actually
probably the Xbox thing that we've already found.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's definitely the Xbox thing, because if you notice, it's full of cyberpunk, like the looks of cyberpunk. It has like many cyberpunk symbols, like the moth from the the cicada, I think, from the
Yeah,
guy
it's definitely
of the
Cyberpunk
deep dive.
related.
Yeah,
We still don't know
it's
what it is, but
it's absolutely
yeah.
Cyberpunk. I think it's just a teaser for it because the ARG said itself that it will be 4 days, and when we looked into the Xbox website, it was 4 days remaining.
Well,
So
they're not gonna just let this ARG be their whole marketing campaign for this
yeah,
Xbox thing. Like,
exactly.
there's not enough people even close that are give a crap about the ARG to, you know what I mean? So they're gonna have
Yeah.
to putting it on the Xbox main website makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they tease like in a good way, and then they did ARG, and a bunch of people like got mad about it because it was way too much work for not a good payoff.
The video of the console reveal is it? Yeah, it has. Well, when I checked, it was pretty close to 50-50, but there were more dislikes than likes on it.
Yeah,
And
I think now
that wouldn't be the case if they had just released that video, right? It was the ARG that built
And
up expectations.
I would wager too that also wouldn't be the case if it hadn't leaked and we were totally surprised by it.
Yeah, but as Russ Hunt says in the chat, while everyone is disappointed, however, with us all stuck at home, it did give us some fun things to do. I mean, I guess that is true. And so why don't we talk about? We'll quickly talk about who you guys are. Who are the game detectives, and then we'll get into sort of the screen share technical magic of it all. But so what are the game detectives?
Rabbit, could you?
So the game, I'll see if I can do this justice. Oh boy, the game detectives. It's a group of people from all different backgrounds. Some tech nerds, some not tech nerds. Lots of just anybody that's interested in mysteries and solving puzzles. That's the big point, right? We don't do this for the payout primarily, although they are nice. We don't. Most of the people, at least in the game detectives, I mean, would be pretty much just as happy just doing puzzles without rewards half the time, because we just do it for sport. But yeah, it's just a group of people that are fascinated by puzzles. If you've got some kind of an interesting background that you think maybe that's the fun thing about ARGs, right? Is like Shazan is gonna demo an audio the solution to one of the challenges, which is audio related. I had no idea where to start with that challenge, but some of the other challenges that maybe he had no idea where to start, I flew through it. So like that's the fun. It kind of brings people together for that reason, and that's why we like it. Different people have different specialties, and if you stick around the community long enough, you'll probably get your moment to shine on a challenge somewhere. So that's
Cool.
who we are.
So it'd be fair, it'd be accurate to say you're a community. You're basically an online community of people who love solving puzzles and ARGs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and we kind of get not shy, but we anytime I get the opportunity, because I've been on here twice now. Anytime I get the opportunity to sort of advertise, I guess you'd call it, or promote the game detectives, I like to also just preface it with the community only works when, frankly, our channel isn't spammed with everybody saying every because it's easy to just spam out every whim that comes to your mind, and what about this, what about that, well, have we tried this, have we tried that? But if everybody's doing that, the chat goes by so fast that it's no longer constructive. So and it's gotten pretty bad sort of lately because we've gotten bigger and bigger. And so I just want to say that yes, we are more than welcoming new people. We are a community, but if you're gonna come and join and play, we're happy to have you. But at the same time, read the pins before you if there's an active challenge going on, read the pins before you start contributing, just so everybody's up to date all at the same time. Because when people start asking questions that we've already solved, and now people are explaining things that we've already solved, it's like it dissolves into chaos. So I just want to preface, but we're more than we are a
so
community.
there's rules and structure to it, but like which is of course necessary for that kind of thing, for sure.
And the pins are really, really important. It's not like a generalized Discord where you walk in and you can ask what's up, and people will explain it again and again. It's far more of an organized thing, and you guys are trying to focus on one thing at a time or one lead at a time, and then the pins really help in keeping everybody up to date on what's important. So if you're going over there, definitely check it out. It's a very welcoming community. But during the middle of like an active game or an active challenge or something like that, where they're actively working on stuff, pins are your friend. Reading up on what they've posted before, what they've updated the team on, that will end up helping to answer most of the questions. And so yeah, please check on that. And again, it's not like most other Discords where it's like, it's just chat. This is actively they're actively working on trying to solve particular things. So yeah, it's a really good group. It's really fascinating. What they do is very fascinating. It's very familiar kind of work in trying to solve puzzles in real time and try to solve things in real time. And the rewards are they're very, very mental.
Sometimes good.
It's like solving any kind of a big puzzle.
As Tara K says in the chat here, if you can't work out reading the pins, then you aren't detective enough to be one of us. By the way, glad to see Tara K's here. I wasn't sure if this new time would work for our Australia and New Zealand folks, but glad to see her here. You have a wiki as well, the Game Detectives wiki that people can check out, and there you document that solved ARGs, I believe.
Each stage gets solved. I mean, the wiki is, it takes a little bit of time to update. So I don't even know where the status. I mean, it certainly the Cyberpunk ARG, the main one, has been, each stage has had sort of big delays in between each stage, so there's plenty of time to update the wiki. So right now the wiki is updated with the current status, and it's actually, I would recommend, if you have no idea what the heck we're talking about with the Cyberpunk ARG, but you're very interested, start at the top of the wiki and just literally read it, and you can actually follow along with the ARG, because credit to CDPR, they've left every stage live as far as I've known through the whole thing. I think that's true. So you can actually go do the whole ARG, which would you might want to block off a couple of days. But but even with the answers, there's a lot of steps. But yeah, you can go on the wiki and follow along with our previous progress.
Can we get a link to the wiki? Sure. If someone wants to fire me a link in the DMs, I'll put that in the chat. Anyway, for the time being, or Saib, you go ahead and throw that in the chat. For the time being, let's get on to sort of the visual component of this. Both of you have something that you're going to demo as far as how you solved this particular Xbox ARG, and so we'll reiterate that the general consensus seems to be that the puzzles were really good and were really well constructed and were fun to solve. It was kind of more the payoff, except for one aspect of one puzzle that we'll talk about.
Yeah, we should probably talk about that on the front end too, because neither Shizan or I are actually demoing that.
Okay, sure.
That one.
But yeah, it was more the payoff that has, like, the payout was poor. I mean, it was an ad for a product, and that, unless you're, I mean, that's going to be exciting for some people, but we're not all Xbox gamers. We're not all, we're really, the majority of the community is curious about Cyberpunk gameplay, lore, all that stuff. If there had been some of that combined with it, probably would have been a lot better. But just having an ad for the product, for the Cyberpunk Xbox, was not enough payoff for a lot of people, and that's why there's kind of a negative attitude about this, and understandably so. But anyway, all right, so let's talk about that one aspect that you guys didn't like about the puzzle.
Yeah, and they actually later sort of publicly on Twitter apologized for this, but there was one question number 5, I believe. The answer when you submit, because the way the ARG works, and you'll see this during my demo at least, you have to submit passphrases, which are basically submitting answers, and then you can get the next question, and you submit another passphrase to move on to the next question, and there were in total 7 of those. And number 5 was it was a a, a long sentence, or it was 4 sentences, and they were case sensitive and punctuation sensitive. So
Yeah, and
we
not
actually,
only that, the puzzles themselves, they had like a bunch of misdirections.
yeah, there was like a bunch
Yeah,
of fluff that was unnecessary. So we ended up we realized later, like a day later, that we had the correct answer for easily a full 24 hours, if not more, and
yes,
we were submitting it, but the we didn't have the correct capitalization and punctuation. And when I say we, I mean the whole Game Detectives Discord, the whole Cyberpunk General Discord. There was another Discord. I don't even know what their Discord's called, but there was a few hundred people in there. And I mean, it's like I don't know how many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of answers submitted with every possible combination, and nobody tried with the right punctuation. So yeah, it was they recognized pretty quickly that I think that they kind of messed up, and they, to their credit, they owned up to it. They know it was kind of silly. So, and the other questions, you weren't that way. They weren't case sensitive. The punctuation didn't matter. So it was
no,
just a
no, every single one of them was case sensitive, and punctuation did matter. The
Oh,
thing is that
really?
we actually got it like pretty fast. But yeah, they were case sensitive, and
Even the one with the fighter versus the fight.
yes, even that one. I tested every single one of them for case sensitive, like for
Oh, I
punctuation.
stand corrected then.
Every one of them is
Hmm.
is
But number
Yeah,
five is the only one that tripped you up somehow.
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's not, like if you want to design, in my opinion, you want to design.
Number six also had a bit of a problem. The group that we were participating, like we actually had the solution pretty much like an hour before everyone, but we couldn't like mass test different uppercase, lowercase, different punctuations, and that's how we got like quote unquote beaten.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So that was kind of that hardship was kind of a running theme throughout the entire thing. Where
Yeah.
you're 99% sure you have the right answer, but you don't know exactly how you're supposed to submit it. And I mean, in my opinion, like. They should probably program in like every logical way, like
Yeah.
uppercase, lowercase. Like, who cares? You got the right answer. You got the right
Yeah.
answer. But
Or just
No,
trunk
it's
it,
not,
like, yeah, on the back end, you can just ignore case, ignore
yeah,
punctuation.
it's not hard
yeah,
to ignore case. It's not hard to ignore punctuation.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
Mad Queen's server was, I mean, she did a live stream when this first came out, and she had a couple thousand people watching that on that day, and yeah, they were trying to go real hard on it. But yeah, it was
First
it
or second
it
day?
was the first day, I think, when it
Okay.
first came out. And so yeah, the generalized like reception to it was pretty good. But again, I just wanted to make this really clear. This was not in any way, shape, or form sponsored or directly connected with CDPR. They had no hands on this thing whatsoever. So this is what we really want to make sure that people understand, is that they were not directly involved in this. So if you feel that the rewards were kind of meh, or if you had qualms about anything in general with it, not CDPR's involvement. They were not involved. Now, frankly, it was a good puzzle, and the rewards were kind of like mer, 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 mer. Time Being in our chat, she posted one of the funniest responses to this, and it was the Orphan Annie drink your Ovaltine secret message from it's from I can't remember the name of the show, but it's this really old this really old movie, I think it was. And it's so funny because it's this kid, he's desperately trying to he's desperately trying to discover this secret message, and he's being pressed, and then it just ends with this like really disappointing, like it's an ad. Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Christmas Story, yeah. That's where it's from. funniest clip, and it's the best reaction to this. It's like everybody's just like, "Drink your Ovaltine." What? It's an ad. Ah! You know, and people lose their mind on it. So yeah.
Yep.
All right. Let's check out your demos, guys. Who's gonna go first?
I think you should do
first.
it. You're gonna let me first?
Yeah, because so just real quick, Shazam is demoing a solution to what we kind of collectively agree is probably the most interesting. Yeah, the most interesting question, and also luckily the best one, the one that lends itself best to a live demo, in my opinion. I am demoing not that, so I'll talk about mine after Shazam.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen, Shazam. I'll get it up on the stream here. So,
all right,
you are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. We're talking to Shazam and Rabbit from the Game Detectives.
Okay, so started sharing. So, can you all see it?
Not yet. I just need to do that, and then I need to do that. All right, and now we're looking at Audacity right now. So you had so one of the puzzles was an audio puzzle.
Correct. It was an audio puzzle. I have like a document here that shows like every part of the thing. I'm gonna link it to you guys later. One of the parts was an audio puzzle that you download this audio, and I'm gonna play for you real quick. It's like 7 seconds. Time is up. So as you can see, like it's an audio that is there's no way to actually understand what it's saying and that kind of stuff. That was one of the puzzles. We got this one, and for the most part, we didn't really know how to solve it. But one of the people that was in their server with us, they proposed that we look at the spectrogram. As you can see, this is the spectrogram view of the audio. And then we noticed something that I have this screenshot that looks a bit better. If you zoom in each one of these clips, first you can see that they are spliced. They are cut and they are put together, as you can see, because of they just jump to like something to another really quick here. And when you zoom up, you can see these little dots over here. And each one of those clips, they have a specific number of dots. And if you look in the whole audio, this one has 1, this one here has 2, this one here has 3. And then I simply just like copy this part, I put it here below, and I did this for every single bit of audio doing this.
Interesting. So how would they have gotten those dots into the spectrogram like that?
As far as I know, there are several ways to actually introduce images into spectrograms. If you look, I think in the music of Doom, for example, the video game Doom, there's several pieces of music there that have like pentagrams and stuff because it's Doom. It's
yeah.
And it has that kind of stuff in the spectrogram. So
that's very cool. I've never seen
Interestingly,
that before.
it doesn't look like it looks like it's actually in the audio as opposed to well, I guess it wouldn't be Photoshop because it is in the audio. It has
it'd be some kind of they just really...
it is in the audio,
and it doesn't look like they added it to the file later in like hex or any like it looks like they add that is actually a sound at that whatever frequency.
So they just introduce some kind of a sound at a specific frequency that just
repeats
a certain number of times. That's a pretty awesome awesome idea. That's really cool. So
this is where when I first started to, because I didn't have a lot of time on the Thursday, but I looked at it and I looked at this and I went and I popped on the Game Detectives and I was like, I'm pretty sure that this is like there's some like imagery like embedded into the audio file here. And and then I was like, oh, maybe not. But then lo and behold, it was. And this is one of the scenarios where it's like I've seen this done before, where you can actually embed a braille message
Yes.
in the visuals, and this is essentially how you guys are actually like clipping this audio.
That's crazy.
out.
So
yeah, pretty much.
So you took each of these chunks in the order of the number of dots.
Yes,
is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
This one is 1, this one is 2. This whole big thing here is 3, because you can see the way it's cut because of the spectrogram. It's really clear. And you get this whole part over here, which is 3. You put it here. The problem is this part, it's actually slowed down.
Yeah.
So you have to go here and change the speed. I tested with 2. It worked pretty well. It goes like it's actually normal now, as you can see. And if I play it, it actually looks like a voice. So if I do all of that, let me just keep on doing, because I have the whole thing like prepared here, like every single piece of audio already cut. A few of them were reversed. Some of them were sped up. One of them, this one here, I had to change order to actually make sense with, which I don't really understand why. This one was supposed to be clip number 9 and this one 10, but this one is reversed. So I think that's the logic of it. And if I actually play this now, you can see here that it actually displays a message. Like you can actually hear something.
It's time to rise up and take the city, Judas.
So
it's time to rise up and take the city, Chumbas.
I was going to say I heard it's time to rise up and something the city, Chumbas.
And around this time, around this time in the Game Detectives, it was chaos because
it was complete chaos.
It's pretty. You can pretty quickly get, like, you can reverse a couple clips and speed up a couple clips and kind of get the words, but knowing the order, most people didn't see the dots thing. So the Discord was like everybody just throwing out every possible combination of those 8 words or whatever.
And the thing is with audio, like you can make pretty much anything you want with it. Like if you pick each part of it independently, you can make like everything.
Yeah, you can make many sentences.
Yeah,
right.
The order was very important, and luckily we were one of the first. I think we were the first ones to actually notice this. And I actually got this piece of audio very much earlier.
We're lucky we had you, man, because most people, this is one of the first audio challenges in an ARG that I've personally seen, and I take to the networking stuff pretty quick, but I don't.
Yeah,
and
I enjoy this part because I'm the guy that messes like most of the time with editing with audio, and I like to mess with.
You do it for work, right? Isn't that what you do for work?
Kind of. Yeah, I did it for a while, but I like to mess with this stuff. And when I noticed, it was actually a tip of one of the users in our server. It was like, what if the dots in the spectrogram actually mean order, and then it actually makes this message.
That's pretty
cool. That I just showed. Yeah,
that's very awesome. Very cool puzzle. Yeah, I've never seen one quite like that before.
Yeah, that was the most interesting one, in I think is the general consensus. But a lot of the rest of them were encoding and decoding phrases.
Well, let's get on to yours, Rabbit. So, did you have anything else you wanted to show there?
No, I don't think so. Pretty much everything I have to show here, like to demo, it's already there.
The software, Ali. The software is called Audacity. It's a free open source audio editing program.
Yeah. That's correct.
That's the one I use. And have
you want a demo really, or did you take them off the screen or anything?
I switched it off just while we were switching.
I was going to say he could show people how to get to the spectrogram because I didn't know how to do that.
Oh yeah.
We don't have to do it because you took them off the screen. That's fine.
Oh, we can do. Yeah, if you want to do that quickly, sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, it's really quick actually. Am I there already?
Yep.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So you have the normal waveform of the audio, and here in Audacity you just go to here, like in the name of the file here, what the thing is. You click here, and you have the ways of showing it. You have waveform, the decibels, which is I think the way Premiere shows or something like that, and then you have the spectrogram, and that's how I used it.
Yeah.
Very
And
awesome.
that's it.
All right. Yes, and Audacity is a great program for processing audio. It's what I use for almost everything, and have even when I was working in working for a large corporation and doing some media for them. I looked at the tool they had available. I was like, okay, it was crap. Like they had this paid tool that was crap, and I was like, I'm just gonna get Audacity, and it worked. All right, so let's. Open source software is amazing. Like, it just shows what communities can create when they're able to connect. Kind of like the game detectives. Kind of like there's an interesting project going on in our Discord server right now. But yeah, like open source software is one of the earliest examples I can think of like people just coming together and making something for free that works really super well, and people can organize themselves
and sometimes it works much better than like very pricey programs. You have like OBS, for example, which is open source, and
and that's what we're using for this live stream right now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's one of the best screen sharing and recording softwares.
All right. So I believe we're going to have Rabbit share his screen now.
Yeah.
And he'll show us a couple things.
And also, let me. I want to preface my. Let me share my. I don't want to share my entire screen. I want to share that.
We don't need to see your search history. Just get the.
So I just want to preface. So, Shazam demoed a solution to a question. My demo is not going to be a solution to a question, and actually, I want to temporarily, sort of, I'm taking off my game detective's hat. Sort of, I'm half taking it off, because definitely the game detectives do not endorse or encourage any kind of I don't know what hacking, brute forcing, any kind of unintended method of solving an ARG is really not the way that it's just not in the spirit really of what we're doing. That being said, sometimes that line is gray, and certainly for people who work in tech fields anyway and sort of think this way, and typically people that are interested in ARGs think this way. The line can be, you're not really sure in the beginning of a challenge, you're not really sure what you're supposed to do, right? So and every ARG is different. So while and everybody goes at a challenge in a different way, so I'm going to show you the way that I initially went at this challenge from the moment that the site was discovered. I'll show you what I did, and then you can if you follow along with me, you can kind of follow my logic and see. I'll show you why I kept going, and then why what the result was. But it would be technically considered hacking, and it certainly is an unintended way of getting progressing a little bit in the ARG. But I wanted to demo it because it's cool, and it's certainly not malicious intent or anything like that.
And also, it wasn't the solution, because
and it was
when
a solution,
you did it,
right?
Yeah,
and
because
that's
when
and
you
that's
do
the
it,
other
you
point.
actually don't get it.
When you do it, you don't get it. You learn a little bit about the ARG, but you don't get anywhere. And it's actually, if anything, it's credit to it's a demo of how to do an ARG right, because I failed in at the end. But it is an interesting exercise anyway. So let's open a web browser, and let's go to the site, which has a crazy URL. All right, so not so much interesting, and you can see, is my screen
Yeah, your screen is up.
Okay, cool.
You're live on the podcast
Live
right
on
now.
the world. Okay,
You're
so
live out there.
if we try and log in with any generic cred, sort of nothing happens, and we get prompted again. So that's not so good. But what I immediately thought is what I'd like to be able to do is I want to see if I use my username and password. I want to see what happens when I hit enter. Right? I have no idea what's going on there. So I'll go into my browser settings. Let me minimize Discord because it's sort of distracting me. Okay. I'll go to my browser settings, and I'm actually going to tell my browser to send all of my requests that go out to my own machine, which seems dumb because that effectively totally breaks everything. If I try to go to Google, nothing happens. So that's not so useful, but I'll show you why I want to do that. If I open a proxy program, and the one I'm using is called Burp Suite, what this is going to allow me to do is send all of the requests from my browser that would normally go to the intended web server. In this case, it's this arasaka.co. Now I'm going to send them first over here to this thing on the right, which is Burp, which is a proxy. So it's going to go from my browser to the proxy and then to the server. So what that allows me to do is see exactly what my browser is doing, and both sending and receiving. So that's super useful. So now if I put username and password, and this intercept is on button is very important. If you have it off, nothing happens. But if you have it on and you send a browser request, now nothing has hit their server yet. The arasaka.co has not gotten anything from me yet. But here you can see, for the people that are on video, you can see the actual web request going out. So there's the host is API arasaka.co, and this is already interesting right away, because this is not, if you notice, the same URL. This api.arasaka.co is not the same as sh.term.blah blah blah. So right away we're getting interesting information about what's going on. So anyway, api.arasaka.co auth, and then here's a username and password, right? So predictably, if we intercept the response when it comes back, we know that these are the wrong credentials, so we know what's coming. 401 unauthorized, right? And if you've been on the web for a while, you've seen 404 page not found and other 400 errors. So you know this is bad news, and it has this little message body, message unauthorized. So if we now allow this to go to the browser, because if you notice nothing, if you now allow this to go to the browser, but incompatible response, right? So that's not so good. So, but at least now you get a picture of what we can do. And I won't go into it. I'm going to save everybody a little bit of time and not show you why this is true. But I went into the source code, and I actually can't take credit for this, but another guy went to the source code as well of the page. He went to, if you go to view source, this looks like a mess. But there's two JavaScript files down here, and there's this 2 dot something, and there's this main dot something, and main sounds a lot cooler than this one. So let's go into main, and this looks like a nightmare. But you can pretty quickly beautify this with it'll highlight syntax and do all the tabs and spacing. And when you actually do that, I'm not going to do it on here to save time, but when you actually do that, you can pretty easily go through the code, and you can find interesting things. And one of the interesting things you can find is if I do this again, I intercept the response. One of the interesting things in the code you can find is what the application is expecting this to be in the case of success. And normally that would be a 200 OK, which in this case it is. And also there's something, so this is still wrong, this message unauthorized. And I'm not going to go into why we know what the correct message is, but the correct data that it's expecting here is value, who knows, right? Next argument, no clue, right? So we don't know what these values should be, but we know what the parameters should be. So if I send this, and again, this is because this is in the JavaScript of the page. They essentially gave this information to us in the code, and it's pretty clear if you know anything about JavaScript and you spend a few minutes going through the code, you can jump right to where this authentication happens. So if I send this to my browser, badoop, it lets me in.
Okay.
And that's kind of crazy. So at this point, I was like, oh man, I figured it out. Here we go. I'm supposed to hack the planet, right? And if I go, actually, I don't see what I was looking for there. Well, there's part of this is missing. I was going to demo.
This is
but
pretty
anyway,
cool looking.
yeah, this is pretty wild. If you haven't seen this yet, it's pretty wild. Part of my demo is missing there, but anyway, I'll move on. So, do you understand? Yes, blah blah blah. Now I started to get a little sketched out, right? Because begin encryption. Here's what I wrote. It put what I wrote in the reply into part of the question. I was like, ooh, maybe this is not what I was actually supposed to do. But at this point, I was like, well, let's just see where this goes, right? So, what I'll do is I'll save everybody time here, and I'm gonna use this proxy program to essentially automatically do what I just did. That replacing the here, I can go right to it. Replacing this with this. I can have this software actually automatically do that. So I'm not gonna explain it. I'll just actually kind of do it real quick. It's called a match and replace rule, and you can do. It's gonna be two things. It's gonna be the response header. We need to match 401 unauthorized, change to 200. Okay, and we also need to match. I'll use regex for this. It was something value and then something in the end. And we want this to be, sorry, just bear with me here real quick.
So what you're doing here is you're actually you're using this voodoo magic to bypass the questions, kind of, rather than having to.
Yep. So it's this is spoofing the responses. This is why I kind of I'm taking off my game detective's hat, because at this point I was pretty clear that this is not what I'm supposed to do. And that was in the request header. Sorry.
Okay.
So I was pretty clear that, but I had taken it this far already, so I was just gonna go through this. But I just want to show you why this is cool, right? So now that I have this match and replace rule in here, we're gonna see if this works. I'll turn the intercept on, and so now the next thing is enter passphrase, right? So there's at this point I had no idea how many steps this was gonna be, so I just kind of put anything in, hit enter. Here goes there's my answer, right? And it's gonna go to that same API arsocket.co, that same auth endpoint, and let's intercept the response. And if I did everything right, oh, it didn't do the replace right. Hold on. So it changed the OK. Hold on 1 second. Let me just fix this. This is the here. It's that. All right, let's try it again. This is the perils of doing things live. So this is gonna fail. Oh, maybe not. Well,
okay,
it worked. All right.
When you think it's gonna fail, but it actually works.
I thought it was gonna fail. All right. Well, let's do another one. Okay, so it actually did the replace. So this is now automatically replacing what I did just by myself. So now I can just forget this intercept. I can forget this altogether. And now every time I put a passphrase in here, it's going to do that replace, and it's going to work. So there, see, it's printing out my no idea again. So now I can just put gibberish. It's going to let me through.
Okay, so you've just messed with it so that you fooled it into thinking you are putting in the.
Yeah, and this is also possible, I want to say, too, that you could also do this in the Firefox Developer Console. You could mess with the code locally if you want. There's a few different ways that you could get the same result. And this is all possible because if you look at the source code, this is the whole thing. I mean, this is all the code. I mean, everything's in here.
All
so they basically
server side. Or sorry,
it's all client
side is what I meant.
Yeah, they gave us everything, right? So, I thought, oh man, they really messed up. They gave us everything client side. This is hilarious. I hacked the plan. I'm gonna get it real quick, right? So, I was super excited at this point, and then I'll show you why that's not the case.
Yeah, that's my next question. Is how far did you get with this? Like, did you get all
So
the
there's
way to revealing that video, or what was
yeah, well, kind of. So there's 7 questions on the last one. Here we go. Yeah, I'm on the last one. So let me turn intercept on. So this is their little animation that you get. So I knew, within 20 minutes of this me finding the site, I knew this is where it was going. Okay, here's an interesting request. Here's the reward for everything. This is the redirect that happens to the YouTube video, right? And I was like, oh man, they're taking us to a YouTube video. I'm so excited. And then if you look here in the URL for the YouTube video, here's part of what my response modification was. So basically, the the challenges, the logic for the challenges and the actual clients, the site were client side, but the answers which then formed the next question were server side. So I knew the reward was a YouTube video, and I knew there were 7 questions, but this is not a working link. So if you forward this on, it's just gonna take me to, well, I guess it's gonna take me to nothing. LOL. But yeah. So I knew the reward was a YouTube video. I knew that there were 7 answers, but this isn't the intended way to do it. This is not what you should do.
And we couldn't even know what the questions were before we actually solved each question, because apparently he used like your answer as a password in server side to actually give you the next question. So it only works if you actually do it right.
Yeah, so I mean, I can sort of.
So that was kind of a safety, like, yeah. So
if you give me a quick second, I can demo the way. Anyway, go on. You can talk more.
Yeah, so it kind of checks back to see, like, it's kind of a checking to see that you actually put in one of the earlier answers.
So yeah, so here is I have the answer to. Here, let's use.
I just sent you all the actual.
I just found it. So let's do this. So every single, if you look at my history here, every single answer questions, right? And if you look down here, this ID is incrementing. This is how it's the answers every time you send it go into the same endpoint on the same server, and it just sends your whatever your passphrase, your chosen answer, and this ID is how it knows which question you're answering. Right? So here's question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4, question 5. So we can actually answer question 7 without doing the rest of the challenge. And that I'll just to demonstrate, I'll do that. So the answer to the last one, the actual answer, if I send this to repeater, I will do question number 7. And the actual answer to question number 7 was, you have the code, destroy the system. And then it was this ID, which a little aside, this is actually the ID from the what was the woman's name in the trailer? Sandra something. Yeah. This was, what was it, on her face or something?
I don't remember.
It's a little piece of lore there. Anyway,
I think it was in the UI that showed when you jack into her.
Yeah, this is just a little piece of interesting lore. So anyway, if I send this is the correct answer to question number 7. So you'll see what the correct response should be from the server, the intended way. It gives me a 200 OK, and it has this message success. Next argument, this. Now this is interesting because what this is if you go to YouTube. youtube.com/watchv. If we put that in here, that's the. Oh wait, hold on. I have to turn my my match replace rule off. Hold on. Try that again. If you put that in here, that's actually the video ID, the part of the URL that takes you to the correct video.
Okay. So that's how it's supposed to happen. So if you get so there was a check in place to make sure you're actually.
Yeah, there was just enough server side code to make it not possible to solve the whole darn thing. Which, to their credit, good job. We weren't.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
that is how it's supposed to be. That's how it is.
Yeah, so good job. Leave it to Microsoft to do everything right.
All right. Well, thanks so much for demoing that. I hope some of it made sense to everybody.
Sorry for the audio listeners. I know that was probably painful if you weren't watching.
You can watch back on YouTube if you want to see the what's actually going on the screen. The archive will be available on YouTube indefinitely. Unfortunately, if you're listening on a podcasting service, can't do that for you. But well, we appreciate that. It's some of it was over my head, but it was definitely interesting to see a little bit of how you do that. So, all right, everybody, you are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, and we love seeing the awesome conversation in the live chat. Hey, if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, join our Discord server. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S community members about all the things we love to talk about, find people to game with, collaborate on stuff, stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. Glad that the chat is is responding very well to what we just did, so I'm glad for that. We weren't sure if it's a different kind of a thing we were trying, so we weren't sure if you'd all find that interesting or not. But there was a question, Kali Ha. What was the name of the software again? Which software? The audio software was Audacity. And then
highly recommended for all audio work.
And then
system.
Yeah, then
the proxy that I was using is called Burp Suite. There's a free version that you can do everything I just did. Then there's a pro, like a paid version that you can actually use it as a vulnerability scanner. But don't recommend firing that around on the internet.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, do not recommend that.
Okay.
For obvious reasons, we can't really encourage people to do any kind of hacking in general, but for stuff like this, obviously it's meant.
Yeah, using it as a proxy is, honestly, if you're nerdy enough, sometimes I just browse the web with the proxy on just so I can look at what's going on, because you find some interesting things. But there's nothing wrong with that,
All right, yeah. So we're gonna move on to some other topics now, but you guys are welcome to stick around and contribute if you have thoughts on some stuff. It's up to you, as I said.
You guys might have some thoughts on this whole China situation, so we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, let's talk about that next, because this was news to me this morning. So, Saib, what's going on with China?
So they have, as of yesterday, early morning, I guess Greenwich time, they have banned all online games that allow their citizens to play with people from other countries.
That's a huge move, and that is, what do you even say about that? Like that's just authoritarian control to the extreme.
To the max, yes. And they're increasingly trying to close off information. Basically, this started around the new Animal Crossing game,
which we talked about. Yeah, last episode we were talking about how protests were happening in Animal Crossing. Hong Kong protests were happening. Apparently, they caught wind of that, I guess.
Yes, the answer from the Central Party was to basically shut off that game, ban its sale, prevent it from being accessed, turned on the firewall to destroy people being able to connect to it. And then they proceeded to send out a couple mandates. So things that are already banned in gaming in Japan, or sorry, not in Japan, in China, that you can go to jail for is the following: map editing. And you're like, wait, map editing? Like any kind of map editing. You
can spell stuff out.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, you can. You can put you could put messages if you're editing a map.
Yeah, you can use the assets to put a message in there.
Mm-hmm. I should really not mention that. Yeah, no, I was going to mention something that we used to do to get past their censors, but I realized that people can still go to jail if they're caught. So no.
Mention it. Do it.
We will not mention that. Plagues, you can't mention anything about plagues or zombies. And again, these are things that have been outlawed for a long time already. So plagues and zombies, can't mention either of those. Role playing, you can't role play in any game. You can't have a game where role play is encouraged or a thing. So
isn't every game like you're role playing in a game? That's just all games,
right?
Kind of.
So basically, like, all D&D is off, and most people don't know this because most people associate World of Warcraft with with China as far as like gold farmers and all that kind of stuff. But here's something that's shocking and interesting. Did you know that in all World of Warcraft servers that are accessible to Chinese players, it has been since the very beginning. There's a giant null zone around Goldshire, and if you go there, you're immediately like teleported back to your original city. So yeah, that's some inside jokes there. I'm hoping that at least somebody's gonna laugh at that. So yeah, the other thing that you can't do is you cannot organize a union or a clan or guild. You cannot have a guild. You can't have anything.
Oh, can't have people forming around ideas.
Man,
I mean,
China's the fun police, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. So this with this move now, gamers in China are banned from playing on any games on any servers or games that have servers or internet or interconnectivity with other players from around the world. They are limited to only playing with people who are based in China currently.
And so when did this happen?
This happened as of basically it happened at I think it's pretty late on.
It's very recent.
Yeah.
And it's enforced by whom? Just the government.
This is enforced by
Chinese
the central
government
party.
Yeah,
the central party controls everything. They could, if they want to make you disappear, it's really easy. There's been a bunch of missing journalists, a bunch of missing doctors who've been trying to like get the word out and talk about things and kind of showcase things. There was somebody who actually tried to form a lawsuit against the government from within China, and immediately he was visited by police. Now, there was enough public eyes on him that they haven't made him vanish yet, but they've told him that if he talks about this lawsuit with anybody, then he will be detained. So this is the stuff that's going on. Also, the government has now set up a new spying app that will monitor all single-player online games. So any game that's online that is a single player or has a single player capacity, has any kind of like so there's a lot of games that we play that you may or may not know that has cloud saves, right? For your single player game, it's got a cloud save. All server side or client side saves are now disabled. All saves are now exclusively on the cloud, and the government has the access and the ability to search all of your saved game data, and they do that quite frequently. So if you've named your character, Free Hong Kong, hashtag Pounder69, that you will be getting a visit from somebody from the government determining whether or not you are in breach of their law, and if you will be removed. Gaming curfew has been set up. Gaming is now only available to play during the day, and you cannot play it between the hours of 10 p.m. and 8 a.m.
I'm sort of impressed that they have the back end like bandwidth or whatever you want to call it capability to actually store and process and run searches through all of that data, because China is a big country. There's a lot of people there.
There's some interesting articles. There's
that's a lot of data
for party members.
It's scary what they have. And like they've been equipping all their cameras, with facial recognition. They just track everybody all the time, everywhere. And this is why the Blitzchung situation was so important. This is why, because it's okay. One guy losing his winnings for saying something relatively small issue comparatively, but this then something happens and they take this step. This is the market that a lot of our game companies are trying to get into and that they're trying to appease. This is why we should stand up against things like we're just gonna remove these gambling machines because the Chinese government doesn't like it in our game. Yes, we should protest against that. It's a small thing now, but where's it going in the future?
Now, and again, if you are a company based out of Poland and you're making a game about crazy things that cyborgs can do with their bodies, such as attaching attaching a hot rod onto a typically like standardized model, but choosing not to attach the hitch from the hot rod. This is inside jokes again. Don't ask. That this is something that Kotaku, Polygon, a bunch of these other websites will absolutely hammer you for. They'll drag you out in the public, say, look at this. This makes this company a company full of Nazis. Oh, they're evil people that must be punished. We have to rid Zawaldo of all of these people.
I mean, Cyberpunk.
And yet, sorry, I'm ranting. This is something that gets printed up within hours of this picture going live. Within hours, you have 4 sites all running the same story, demolishing this evil corporation. How dare they, attempt to put anything showing a dystopian future where people are taken advantage of because of whatever. How can they do that? Meanwhile, it's been 3 days. Essentially, this really turned on really late, or about midday, like April 16th. It is now the 18th. And you want to know who's talking about this? Bleeding Cool News, Tweaktown, Talk Esport, The Sixth Axis, Fossbites, Taiwan News, videogamer.com, Tech Times, Happy Gamer Blog, Indian Noob. I believe that's like from India, not North American Indians. You know what's not in that list? Kotaku, Polygon, any of these other companies that have pounced on CDPR, or any other company that has said, "Hey guys, we're making a game that we feel that can tell a gripping emotional story, and here it is, try it out."
Don't forget the first one that actually made a hit piece on CDPR, Rock Paper Shotgun. Nothing.
The Rock Paper Shotgun fellow has is one of the people that he's like called this out like directly, and it's really sad because normally he's very much of a friend to CDPR and Telstorian when they on their other stuff, but they have run with these stories before. But again, when it comes down to this, I don't see them on this list. Like I've gone through the stories. I don't know if I haven't gone to their website. I tend to just go to places that aggregate the news and the articles. And normally I would expect, I mean, I've not even heard of some of these websites before.
Well, it's so you're getting these smaller sites that are.
Yeah, if I'm picking up a Taiwan news agency running this story, and yet for some reason I don't have like nobody in North America has willing to talk about this. It's kind of annoying, especially when it turns out that they're owned by these people who are owned by these people that are owned by these people.
Well, it sounds. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077. I mean, from everything we've seen, I mean, it's very much looks like a survive against the man, fight the power, rage against the machine type game, which is like exactly what it sounds like China is trying to get rid of.
Now, and we've talked considerably before about the relationship between CDPR and China, and how we believe that they're actually going to they will actually have a release in China. I don't know for sure how this will affect that, but I would encourage every game developer, like, you don't want to get into bed with these guys. You just don't.
How are they going to have I mean, I'm sure they will have a release in China, I guess, but how? Given, I mean, if they're, I mean, Cyberpunk is every single thing on the list that you read.
Yeah. Well, so we did a whole podcast on this before. Basically, it boils down to because Keanu Reeves is front and central in the story and in the narrative. He's very, very popular in China. They do talk about China in a perceived way that can be tweaked to the Central Party's narrative. So the Central Party can say, hey, this isn't about, bad corruptive government. This is all about bad corporate capitalism. And then they also have this thing where they kind of like, so in the lore of the game, China put a wall around Hong Kong to isolate it from the rest of the world because there was this crazy like digital / biological virus that wiped out every like living organism in the city. Again, as far as the video game lore of Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk video games go, it's not an actual real thing. Just censors, don't kill me because it's video game related. They really, really liked that because it showed the power of the Chinese people, even though it's a completely fictitious world that has absolutely no bearing in reality. For some odd reason, that's okay. That's passable. So it's super weird.
If you, I mean, this China thing. I mean, it highlights kind of, sort of the big disparity between sort of right and left, right? Like if you go all the way left, you get one kind of crazy overlords, and then if you go all the way right, you get another kind of crazy overlords, and different countries have different versions of where they land in between those two extremes. But it sounds like this is an example of when you go too far in one direction.
Well, I think
Gamer notes. Just want to get this in here. Thank you for the
game notes.
Game notes. Sorry. Game notes. Thanks for the coffee. And he has a quick question. Is there any way to donate to the game detectives? Do the game detectives actually have any running cost?
You just PayPal me. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna do some research on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure
sounds good.
I'm sure they have an operating cost for the wiki article.
Oh yeah,
on
for
some
sure.
level, way, shape, or form. So I would peruse there, make sure that your ad blocker is not turned on. I mean that really helps. Ad blockers, they do kind of have a tendency to hurt whoever you're going to the most. YouTube actually has a thing where if the majority of your channel runs ad blockers, they actually like will demonetize your channel. They'll start to downlist your videos because they go, oh look, 80% of the users who visit this YouTuber all are running ad blockers. Therefore, this person is of no interest to us anymore. So that
I actually think the Game Detectives wiki doesn't have like any ads. I'm like looking at it with my ad blocker turned off, which I do for pretty much every website.
Yeah, some wikis don't have any ads.
I can't see any ads. So
I mean, there is GameDetectives.net, and there is a pretty, it's a nice webpage, a nice web server, and everything. So I'm sure there's cost involved.
Yeah, so I mean, I would just head over there, talk to the team, but probably just
somebody in this Notional says they have a Patreon. So I don't know if if you could verify that, guys. But
yeah, verify that it's the correct Patreon. There's a lot of this happens more and more. There's a Patreon for a whole bunch of bands that are not run by the bands, and it's kind of
just somebody just
somebody's leeching,
yeah.
and it's really weird. So always make sure that you're actually supporting the correct
They do have a
people.
Patreon. This is news to me. LOL.
Yeah, well, again, I've never heard it from any of the crew there. So
Let me back up. There is a Patreon that has all of the Game Detectives marketing material on it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. Whether or not is actually, because it's not that I can't find the link to it from.
Which is weird, because I assume that I would have heard about it at some point. But we just want to make sure we will update this tomorrow on the podcast if we don't get it to update.
Okay, well, Notional's saying he got the Patreon from the website, which he got from the Discord.
Okay,
so
then
we're good.
solid.
So
yeah.
if you
donate
want
on Patreon,
if you want to make sure you're getting to the right place and your money's getting to the right people, go to, what did you say? It was thegamedetectives.net?
Mm-hmm.
Go to thegamedetectives.net and follow the link there to the Patreon.
Don't know where that link is. I believe the gentleman or gentlewoman who.
I am asking the admins of the Game Detectives right now, and
okay.
I'll get you back as soon as
by the end of the podcast we'll have.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, so that's disturbing what's going on there, and this is why I say, gamers are typically a freedom-loving folk, and we're also typically the kind of people that are like, just leave me alone and let me do my thing. I don't want to get involved necessarily in your ideological thing. But this just goes to show, stand up for your freedoms, folks.
Well, and this is so part of this whole thing is like imagine being a gamer in China in the last year and a half. You're playing a couple of games that you think are great and you've been playing them online. Then suddenly the hammer comes down. Because of economic arguments with other countries, we're banning all of these video games. Now this happened before. So suddenly you're not allowed to play, a whole bunch of these games. All these shooters, you're told no. It's training you to fight against the power, and so you're like, okay, gonna find something new. So you finally you hop around, you try and find games, you hop around, you try, nothing, and then eventually you're like, okay, well, screw it, I guess I'll play some sports games. So you pick up the NBA basketball game, right? So you got the basketball game, you're playing that. Then South Park comes out with their thing, and the next thing you know, it is now illegal for you to play the NBA sports game that you've been playing for the last little bit. And it is now illegal. You are big time screwed. The pooch has come for you. So you're like, oh, okay. Well, all right, barely got out of that without going to jail. So now I guess, well, maybe I'll play this Animal Crossing game. What possible harm could be in that? Oh no! Now you're designated as a person of ill repute by the Central Party, and so this is the things that happen there, and it's not even a joke, and. Now it's like, well, just play any of these other nondescript games, or play these games that are created by the Central Party that requires your microphone to be on, requires your web camera to be on. I was talking with somebody from a particular place within China. I think I can say that, and they were visited by the police who wanted to know why they were covering their webcam. How would they even know? How would the local police department know that they have a tape over top of their webcam device? And why are they showing up to say, you are not allowed to put a tape over your webcam? It's like,
that is an amazing level of invasion of privacy. It's
There is
no
such
privacy
thing.
there. There's no privacy. And the
There is
thing
no
I want to
such
point
thing
out
there.
something that somebody said in the chat earlier. This technology exists here. It exists everywhere. If you live in the Western world, or in Australia, in New Zealand, in Europe, in North America, wherever you're listening from, any other, the technology exists to make this happen. So we need to keep your eyes open,
Be
people.
educated. We need to be educated on this stuff.
It does. Yeah,
I'm not saying oh, this is going on here right now. I'm not trying to get all conspiratorial. What I'm just saying is that we need to be vigilant, and when companies or governments start doing this crap, we say no, screw off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here in the West, in the East as well, but like we actually are like concerned about our privacy. So yeah, people can do that. The technology exists, but most companies don't actually like actively engage in it.
I would agree. Usually, if you get
like find out,
yeah,
but
if you get caught doing that, it's usually a big scandal still.
Yes, and it's maybe some like Western culture or whatever to actually care about that stuff, and companies, even though they can do that, they don't, because they know that they can like lose a lot if they get found out.
Yeah, that's very true. We just got to make sure that it doesn't degrade to the point that we start to lose that stuff without noticing. You know what I mean? This is what a lot of sci-fi books of the past have been warning us about, and some of it's coming to fruition. We see it actually happening in part of the world now. Important to stay vigilant. That's all I'll say. And then I think we should move off that topic. But So good thoughts.
Other news.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other news, Jason Schreier and two other, editors, I guess.
Editors, staff, yeah.
Have left Kotaku. Kotaku is officially on fire. Geo Media is officially on fire.
Yeah, Schreier. So Jason Schreier, of course, he was he the lead editor there at Kotaku? He has cited the management by Geo Media as a primary reason why he's left. Yeah. Geo Media also owns Gizmodo, The Onion, and a bunch of other sites that have reputations for having. Well, I mean Gizmodo, right? And then there was the whole issue with Deadspin when they fired their senior editor for disagreeing with the stick to sports thing. I'm trying to remember, did we cover that? I remember hearing about it. I can't remember if we talked about it because it was related to Kotaku, but anyway. And he's moving to another company. He hasn't, as of right now, detailed where he's going, but he's apparently got another job sort of in the bag.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just generally the site is dying. I realized today it actually kind of laughed about this. I was like, okay, so Jason Schreier, he has had some good articles, some decent articles, detailing or doing a deep dive into things that other people did way before he did, but just fine. He's doing deep dive stuff. This is good. He did bring us the truth about Anthem, so there's that.
He's doing like actual journalism.
Yeah, actual journalism and that kind of stuff, and so that's good, great, awesome. However, I realized that is the only reason why I've ever gone to Kotaku in the last 2-3 years, was to read his articles. And I wonder how many other people only go to Kotaku to ever read his articles and his exposés.
That's very true, yeah.
Not another rant, Terra K, but because really, I really think that we give Kotaku way too much feeling and feedback for what they do, which is basically nothing. Like they really are just a useless waste of journalistic integrity.
Kotaku's garbage. I'll just,
Yeah.
I've said that. I've not been shy about my opinions about that. I every now and then I fire up the site and I just cringe my way through reading the headlines. Jason Schreier, including Schreier, and we've criticized Schreier some of his reporting on stuff that were more like activist takes, but he has done, as other people are confirming in the chat, he has done some good journalism, especially with his sort of behind the scenes stuff. Of course, we've also seen where he has done very slanted journalism. Mm-hmm. Actually, I can't remember if the article I'm thinking of was written by him specifically, but yeah, there was. Anyway, he has in some cases delivered the facts in a palatable format that could be called journalism. So, but yeah, you're right. That's the only reason that we have given Kotaku any credibility whatsoever over the past few years. So what are they going to do now?
Yeah.
You gotta remember that I think most of the gamers of today, like, they actually don't go to a lot of gaming journalism websites. They know how to think for themselves, and I think like gaming journalism in general is like going to like a clickbait only type of journalism, not actually doing good stuff, just doing stuff to get normal people or people that don't really know what you're doing to click it.
Yeah. No, it's very true. And we like to rip apart clickbait and stuff like that and try to point out good journalism from bad. But, I mean, the average person that listens to this show is pretty savvy about those kinds of things, which is good to see. Mm-hmm. And I think I hope that, people are becoming more savvy about that, recognizing slant in journalism, recognizing framing, recognizing all of these things that supposed journalists do to imply certain things without actually saying them, so they have deniability. Yeah, we savvy. You're all savvy. Jack Sparrow voice. I'm not going to attempt to do a Jack Sparrow voice, but yes, savvy. All right, so yeah, Kotaku. I think they've lost their last bastion of credibility. The one snippet of worthwhile reading that the site had is now gone. So, don't know what they're gonna do. But anyway, we are getting short on time. A couple more things we wanted to discuss. We'll just do really quickly. We wanted to talk about the Wastelanders update to Fallout 76. Cyb's been playing that, and also the Minecraft with ray tracing is in beta. So let's go Fallout 76 first. So what's been your impression? And guys, Game Detective guys, if you've been playing it and want to chime in, go right ahead.
So latest, so it is the beta to the Wastelanders DLC, it's not DLC, it's free.
It's an expansion, yeah. Well, it's free DLC.
It is expanding on the game. So it's still in the early. Some of the early reviews, people that were in it 2 months ago, they were in the closed beta. Were giving it very poor marks because they had complaints that such and such a location didn't have any NPCs in it. Well, there's now NPCs in those locations. So again, this is an evolving thing, and anybody who gave it, anybody who criticizes something in beta for being finalized normally would get my ire and scorn. However, this entire process of this game has been in beta for like 2 years now. So
yeah,
it's really been kind of insulting. Now, the game is a lot funner. it is a lot funner. The simply adding NPCs, storyline, people to talk to, characters to run into, things to see, things to meet, people to meet. It's been honestly really, really, like it's breathed whole new life into the game. And for people who are like, well, do they deserve it? Why do we bother? Blah blah blah. All of those questions, 100% agree. Those are absolutely acceptable questions. And the thing that I really put some thought into was, well, I gave the same reaction and the same form of thinking when looking at No Man's Sky. And I gave No Man's Sky a second chance. It's not for me. I never stuck around for more than I think 3 or 4 hours in the newest version, just because it still wasn't necessarily what I wanted. The camera was still caused me some motion sickness, so I was like, yeah, whatever, right? So ultimately, um, kind of sitting back, looking at this whole scenario, and went, I'll give it a try, right? I'll give it I'll give it an honest try, and I'll comment on my opinions on it. And if you had kind of like could see the potential of the game, it is certainly getting there now. It is certainly getting there. The new the team that they've had working on it has been doing some pretty good things. There's still bugs, and there's still a number of issues with the game that are annoying. There's some old bugs that are still showing up. One of the biggest bugs that I have had, which did fix itself just by logging out, logging back in, was this immortal NPC thing that happens every time you get a weapon that does way too much damage for an NPC, without one-shotting them, but it's like close to one-shotting them, but it hits them really, really fast. It tends to make them immortal. That bug is still there. Apparently, they tried to fix it and they've dropped the rate at which it shows up by a considerable amount, but it still happens from time to time. I don't know if there's a workaround or anything like that, but overall, I've been enjoying the game. The NPCs really make a marked improvement. I have not seen a single person go PvP since I've been playing, and I've probably put in like 25 hours or something like that in the last few days. And that also has made the game far more enjoyable, because instead of like, oh no, there's a person. Oh, what's the person gonna do? Oh, they've got a gun. Oh, they're gonna one shot me. Oh, I don't know. And instead of this like whatever, it's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, good. Looking for this. Oh, there's some of this over there. Hey, do you need anything? Oh, no, sure. And so it just goes to show that Bethesda was so wrong about this game on so many levels. First of all, PvP was never something people wanted in a Fallout game. It was never ever what they wanted.
That's true.
Yeah, and the whole concept of like, yeah, we'll tell a story without actual NPCs, also not what the people wanted. People are actually actively involved in these characters. You can get people that essentially like show up and live at your camp and stuff like that now, and you actually have camps that start to resemble a small community. So it's marked improvement, massively marked improvement overall.
There's
Does
a
it Go
sorry.
ahead.
There's a thing that Todd Howard said in I think it was in the last year's E3 when he was talking about 76. I don't know if it was Todd Howard or someone else, but they were talking about Fallout 76 and how in a post-apocalyptic world, the community actually is the part that helps itself the most.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I remember that, and it was Todd, and Todd did mention that. It's like, it's amazing to see how just generally things have improved and how they've managed to, uh, go out of the way to make this stuff work, and to, you know, um, the community has really been the driving force behind this. Now, that said, if there are people who really dislike what has happened and are not willing to give this a second chance, I 100% understand, and for most part, I actually agree with you. I don't think that this game deserves a second chance by anybody who felt betrayed and who is not in a forgiving mood. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just walking away from this thing. That said, there's also nothing wrong with people who are willing to give it a second chance. There's nothing that makes you an inherently bad gamer because you're like, all right, Bethesda listened to the feedback. I'm going to give it a second try. I think there are still issues. I think that the whole like, hey, you're charging for things that are, game changing or power balancing. I had enough through through all the quests and stuff like that, and because I've never actually bought Atom points, but through the Atom points that either they gave me for free or I've unlocked by doing their weeklies or dailies, I had enough to buy the little scrap bot that everybody was up in arms about. And the scrap bot,
Fallout First.com.
yeah, the scrap bot was is not great. He gives you like one piece of scrap an hour. So it's like, okay, well that's amazing. No, that's not amazing. It's just a passively small thing. It's not even rare scrap either. It's like plastic and wood and stuff. So again, ultimately, I think some issues are overblown. There's other issues that are not overblown. So if you want to get back into this game, give it a try at this point. If you don't want to, then just ignore it, move on. You're not missing anything groundbreaking. It's basically just, an interesting version of any survival game. And for me, for the moment, it's holding my attention. That's probably going to go away in a week once I get into Trials of Mana. So for now, we're giving it a try. If you are thinking about getting back into it and you want to party up, find me on the Discord and send me a message. I certainly wouldn't mind trying to do some of the more group-focused content that they have, and I wouldn't mind exploring the concepts. I still have said, and they've been saying on their, they gave an update, and they're like, we're looking at private server size and stability. We want to try and bump these up. It's like, good, because I still want to run a community. They're having an AMA sometime soon. And my question would be like, hey, I have a community where we would like to set up a server of like anywhere between 50 and 100 people. Can you give this to us? Because I want to have a server where we control the rules, we can set the rates of certain spawns, we can alter things, we can put caps on stuff, we can do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then we just want to have it available for community members on our Discord or that follow us, whatever. That's really what I've wanted for a really long time. Like basically a Minecraft server, just in the Fallout flavor, and then we can mod it when mods start to become a thing. We can mod it with things that we feel make the game better. I still want to do this because I feel that it's a worthwhile experience for the community. I don't want, and I never have liked their version of the live thing, their version of the servers and all that kind of stuff. I never liked that. I want to be creative and create and help our community to be creative. I don't actually want what they've been offering. It's not something that's held my interest, but overall, the game now has a chance at being successful. And I got to point this out too. So and we're gonna probably wrap up with this. The Steam listing. This is available on Steam. Everybody who owns this on the Bethesda launcher can have access to this on Steam for free. So that's kind of a good. Their ratings right now, their review rating right now is mostly positive.
That's a change from Wednesday.
Wednesday it was
mixed. Yeah.
And now it is mostly positive. And I've got to say that there's a lot of people who they look at this game and they go, "There's bugs, Bethesda's crap, all this kind of stuff." Yes. But it's the only Fallout it's the only Fallout community game that we have. So there are some people who are like, for better or worse, we're going to try and make this thing work. And those are the people who, I log in and I see them standing outside Vault 76, welcoming new players and, asking them if they have any questions. That's what's been making this community
Did
good.
you heard the story that there was a guy like role playing Preston Garvey in the
Yeah, I do remember hearing
Vault
that. Yeah.
76?
Yeah. Well, when the game launched, I immediately grabbed some power armor, then came back to the vault, and I welcomed people outside of the vault and gave them weapons as they were coming out of the vault because I was like, I liked crafting and I was able to craft up a whole bunch of stuff, and I would just sit outside the vault in this like Brotherhood of Steel armor, going, welcome to the Wasteland, maggots. You better head over here and do this, and it was great fun. It was buggy as all get out at that particular time, but I actually had a lot of fun doing that. And I think that there's room for this to continue. And I personally hope that this can continue. I really want this to grow and become better, to get to the point where people are like, okay, let's give it a try. I actually do want that. I'm still upset and annoyed at Bethesda because they can't seem to get their crap together on a lot of these other issues and problems. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, and
Just-
other. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one thing before we wrap this subject. If any of your viewers want to get a bit of a laugh, I just shouted the website followedfirst.com.
Yeah,
I shouted it
it's so
because
funny.
it's the website that the Bethesda did not register. It was someone else, and they did a parody at website, and it's really funny. If any of you want to check it out,
Yes, definitely do that.
It's
I
still
think
there, and
that's still up. Hey,
actually, yeah. Let me just tack on one more thing to this, because I've been hearing a lot of rumors about what's actually going on at Bethesda now, and I think I mentioned this on the last community podcast, or it might have been our last podcast, whichever. I have been hearing rumors that that they took the whole Starfield, and there had never been an announcement date for it, but from what I've been hearing, they actually pushed it back over a year or almost 2 years, because they decided that the backlash against 76 was so bad that they felt that it would become quite negative if they dropped it out, and it would get a lot of hate just because of that. The other thing that was part of that is that it still had some older systems in it that were causing some bugs and some issues, and they've actually decided to go back and completely revamp those things. And I've heard a rumor that included some of the major parts of what they were putting in to the next Elder Scrolls game, but not putting into this game because it would take too much time.
yeah.
But
So
now we've been hearing the
did
rumor that
they did the same. Sorry, you can say.
So now we've been hearing this rumor that they've actually scaled back Starfield to completely replace an outdated system in it with the newer system that was only going to be showing up in Elder Scrolls 6. We know that they have a new animation system, a new lip syncing system, a new voice and animation system, and as well as a new texture system as well. They're all still as easy to use as the previous incarnations of it, but they've actually updated all of those things into the new Starfield. If that's the case, if this is true, because again, this is still rumor. If this is the case, then we're going to be getting a Starfield that is really next gen and completely different. And if it's good, then it's going to wow people. And I think part of that is going to come from the point of having 76 be so bad that Bethesda said that they need to shape up and that they need to improve, and that they need to go beyond what they normally have considered okay, and they need to really polish a game up. If that's the ultimate thing that we get out of this, then I think this is actually a good thing, just in general.
So are you telling me that Bethesda is not counting on the community to actually fix the game anymore? that what you're telling me?
Apparently no. Apparently no.
Well,
we can.
We
hope
will
at least.
find out. I mean, hopefully they succeed in making things better. But I think they realize, yeah, if they learned from their mistakes from Fallout 76, then that is probably the best we can hope for at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Funky Moyne and other people in the chat saying, you know what, I'm not going to support Fallout 76 because of the way they rolled it out, because of their commercial model for it. You don't want to support that kind of behavior. Totally understand. But yes, hopefully they do learn from their mistakes and things get better in the future. Now, one final thing to discuss today, and we'll just do this really quickly. By the way, if you haven't slammed that like button yet, please do that. The like button's lonely and it likes it rough, so definitely slam that thing. And of course, as I pointed out last time, I mean, if you think the show sucks, hit that upside down dislike button, and we'd really appreciate that. But Minecraft has teamed up with NVIDIA. We knew this was coming, and they just this past week they released their beta version of their integration of ray tracing, RTX, into Minecraft. If you have Minecraft on Windows, and I think you need the Windows version. There might be another version that works, but anyway, you can. The beta is basically open to anybody who wants to check it out, and so I did. And I put out a demo video showing the visual change between a lot of different a lot of different scenes in the game. Right now, it doesn't work with your sort of vanilla Minecraft worlds. There are special worlds you have to load in that showcase the different features of the new ray tracing rendering. But my goodness, it blew my mind. The way that ray tracing renders scenes and the lighting effects and just the possibilities for what's coming down the road in the future for video game graphics using RTX rendering is mind-blowing.
Every once in a while in gaming, I mean, I'm over 30, so I've been playing video games for kind of quite a while, and if you've been gaming for a while, every once something comes along that really changes the game in one way or another. Sometimes it's graphical, sometimes it's gameplay wise, like a new gameplay idea. Like I would put like the portal gun in that category, was kind of it, or the gravity gun, that kind of stuff. And I think my point is, I think ray tracing is another thing like that, where it's just gonna up the graphics game, and we're never gonna be able to go back again.
Absolutely.
It's such a big deal.
When this becomes standard, we're going to look back at the previous lighting methods and think that how did we live? It's like looking back now at, like, you go play Mario 64 and you're like, look at these polygons. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, before we were trying to invent ways to make the lighting look like it is real, but it's not. But now, for the first time, we are actually getting like real lighting in the game.
Yeah,
and that's amazing.
Exactly, and so the effects that you can get with, like reflections, refractions. Like there's a couple of points where I showcased the water a lot, because you can dive into the water and the light bends with the water and things like that.
It also makes, I mean, in Minecraft is such a, I mean, from some perspectives, like an off-the-wall choice to implement RTX. I mean, and that's kind of why it's cool, but it makes an interesting mashup between like this like low poly pixelated sort of art style, cartoony low poly art style, with like this super high def RTX technology. Makes like a really sort of an interesting artistic presentation, if I'm honest. And there's other games that kind of sort of do the same sort of thing. Like there's it's not done yet, but there's a game called The Last Night that's like got like a pixelated sort of art style. There's a game called Proteus that does like a pixelated sort of art style, but at the same, like a low poly, but at the same time they've got like incredible lighting technologies behind it, so it like does sort of a mashup of like low res and then but high quality lighting. It's kind of, I don't know, I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you have Minecraft and you want to check it out, like I said, you can't use your vanilla worlds in it, and if you create anything in the new beta version, you can't bring it back into the sort of the release version. It is in beta right now. Like, it's coming down the pipe that it'll be this will be just available across the board. But you can check it out for yourself if you want. You really have to see it to believe it.
And also remember that it's only the Windows edition. It's not the Java edition. The Java edition that people normally play on PC, that doesn't work. It's just the Windows one.
Yes.
The Bedrock.
Yes. So there's a if you have to like use the Xbox Insiders app and do a couple things to get into it, but it's definitely an interesting experience. And I think the simplicity, to agree with Rabbit there, the simplicity of the graphics really lets you showcase just how different it really is. And if you don't have Minecraft or you don't want to go into the beta, it's a bit of a complicated process. Check out the video that we did, which is published a couple days ago here on the channel. It's got some side-by-side comparisons, not side-by-side literally, but basically the same scene, with original lighting, and then it fades into the RTX lighting. It'll blow your mind. So check that out. It'll just show you, and again, it's not just about Minecraft. It's about what is this going to do for game graphics in general, the possibilities that are coming down the pipe. And games like Cyberpunk 2077, which are going to have lots of interesting lighting things going on, and will be RTX enabled.
Just to highlight how seriously I'm taking RTX, I am considering, if the new NVIDIA graphics cards, the 3000 series graphics cards, are delayed past the release date of Cyberpunk, I may not play Cyberpunk until I get my hands on the new NVIDIA card, just because I want to see all that RTX lighting.
All the RTX magic. Yes.
And it is going to kill me to not play the game until a graphics card gets released, but I think it would probably be worth it. So
yeah, there you go. Just wanted to cover that. I am planning some more content about ray tracing in the near future, if that's a topic that interests you. I'm doing some research right now on it. But yeah, I think with that is our show for the day. So again, thank you so much to the Game Detectives for being here with us today. Really appreciated your input on today's show. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for the great conversation in the live chat. Listening live or after the fact, don't forget to slam that like button before you leave. We really appreciate that. I want to extend a special thank you to our Patreon supporters and our channel members who help to make this content possible, especially in, it's a difficult time right now. Ad revenues really are down, like they've tanked. So we really especially appreciate our Patreon supporters and channel members at this difficult time. We appreciate you always, but it's definitely been helpful. Let's put it that way. Our big dang heroes on Patreon, Josh, Robin, Timebean, and our two anonymous BDHs there, as well as our other supporters there. Our channel members, Mr. Padzernik, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, and Terror K. If you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, we appreciate your interactions there as well. And don't forget that you can join the live show on YouTube on Wednesdays and Saturdays, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be part of the discussion. See the Discord server for exact times and schedules. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Cyb and the guys from the Game Detectives, thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you again very soon.